There we go. Admit everyone. And now we're going to take the waiting room out. Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good evening, Roger. It's not there yet. Josh, John Robert, Mike Leyland. Who else we got there? Yeah, Jason Aldering, Carl. Rob just sent me a message that he didn't get the link. He might be joining a little bit later. He had a lot to do. Sean getting in just now. And of course, Owen. So I'm by myself today. Jono was not feeling the best today. So after he threw up a couple of times, I decided he couldn't work anymore. So yeah, you can't get good stuff anymore. That's a big problem. But anyway, hey Roger. No, he was not feeling well, so he went home. So tomorrow we got a gin tasting, so he's ready and recovered for tomorrow. Also, welcome Dave back from to the real world out of 14 days of isolation. Yeah. It's life now. These 14 days of isolation, you just you get used to, like you might get isolated here and there, you know, maybe just a random part of life. Yeah, you're very lucky. One of your kids at least left home, right, Dave? Yeah. Me and myself isolating with 2 kids under 10 in my house, not ideal. Yeah. So okay. Yeah, we shouldn't have problems with network. So I feel so weird with myself. This is the first tasting I've done, I think, ever by myself. So, well, not by myself, but, you know, just with no one here. All right. So the order of tasting, well, so the tasting today, we had a chat there with Jono and Owen about this. What do? We got a lot of the Wiebers stock still, and you know, and we decided to do a fighting fish tasting, but we swap a couple that we had for other series of Jack Wiebers, the Prenslow portfolio, and Jumping Jack Productions. Yeah, so very interested tasting. The fighting fish, it's bottling done by Jack Wiebers for Martin Monier. Martin Monier is a whiskey collector and whiskey trader in Switzerland. He's business partner with Jack, and very rarely you see the fighting fish around. They are mostly sold in Japan and Europe. Of course, beautiful labels. Yeah, part of those crazy amount of different bottlings and lines that Jack has, the Prenslow portfolio, which has a bit of a mix of everything, you know, young malts, old malts, yeah. And Jumping Jack, which I'm not sure what category sort of gets Jumping Jack. But, you know, it's, like all Jack's bottles, they are quite interesting. Robbie just joining, got a fresh haircut. Oh my gosh.
Hey, yep, aerodynamic.
You enlisted yourself to the army or something? Like,
no, I just not having a hair gone, swung a bit too hard the other way, but we'll deal with it. It's all right.
my internet is being playing up, I think. So I'm gonna just wire myself in just in case. There we go. Yeah, I'm not so far. Rob says, I feel, no, Shannon, Rob, I feel like everyone's hair is migrating to my head. That's, yeah, you're getting, man, you're very close to Jesus Christ now. Yeah, we can.
We've been over this, Jose.
Yeah,
It's
we should start out. You could be the messiah of our tribe. We could
the whiskey messiah.
the whiskey messiah. Yeah. We just need to put you a quilt, you know, make up some tartans there. Yeah, that's I'm quite jealous of that amount of hair.
If I'm allowed south of the border in October, mate, I'll see what I can do for a costume.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, and then Shanna appears into Whiskey Abbey wearing a toga, a white toga. That would be quite interesting. So, all right. The order of tasting today, we're gonna start. Justin and Dom send their regards. They double pack themselves with a tasting at Whiskey and Element, so they're not going to be joining tonight. So they asked me to record the tasting. They miss it.
They're off the team. That's it.
Yeah. Alex Morse was going to be here too. I don't know. You know, Owen, if he's coming or he's going to Whiskey and Element too.
No, he said he was coming, to the point where he came today on his lunch break to make sure he had the samples to be here on time, and yet again he's not here on time.
Yeah, he was at Whiskey and Element yesterday.
Yeah, he's a busy man. That Alex. Let me see if I send him. I'm gonna send him the link anyway on Facebook. See if you can get it there. Okay. All right. The tasting order for tonight. We're going to start with Milton Duff. Second, we go to Croftensia. Third, we go with Altmore. Fourth, we go with Deanston. Fifth, we go with Strathmill. And last, we go with the Laphroaig. As I said to everyone, don't finish all your samples. We might be revisiting what we taste and taste back and forth. That's what the biggest part of the, let's say, tasting and kind of learning curve happens when you got several drums on the go at the same time. Yeah. All right. I don't have an assistant today. Gosh, that's I brought one glass less for myself. All
you
right.
Can't pull a random person off the street tonight, Jose, or
yeah, no one worth it up here. To be honest, I could have gotten. I offered to Rob to come down, but Rob's too busy.
Yeah, it's been a mad rush today. I've only just made it here in time for the tasting.
Yeah, from the office, which is like 2 seconds, 2 meters away. Right, it's from the desk of the office.
I'm in the office, like this couch.
Is that your backdrop for the office, or you just probably put the computer on another desk and have a different backdrop?
The backdrop.
It's the same backdrop.
Couch. Yep.
If I was working from home, I would have at least, like, if I got 3 walls, 3 different backdrops, right? So I just move the desk one way, another way, and it looks like, you know. Oh well. My idea.
I'm willing to go through.
So, all right. First whiskey to begin. Macduff Distillery. This is apparently the second edition of the Jumping Jack production.
So
bourbon cask.
I did some research on this bottle. So this particular series is called the Saxon Elbe Valley range. So it's like one of Jack's, like, not mainline series that he does every so often. So he's only done 4 of these bottling so far. I think he did like an Ardmore, a Glenmurray, and a Ben Nevis, and this was the second of the lot. And all really good. It's a 15-year-old Macduff. They've all been really well rated. But Jumping Jack, I think, is more of his sort of side projects when he's not doing his mainline entries like his Train Lines and his Prenslows, etc. It's more of his thrown together line that he likes to do.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Now, when I have a nose with this and have a nose, is Very fruity. Very not so Jack Wiebers. Because after so many tastings of Jack Wiebers that they tend to be, well, my idea of Jack's palate is that they tend to be quite herbal. This is full on bananas. Full of bananas, kind of apricots or dehydrated apricots, stone fruit. This is only bottled at 48% and a total outrun of 150 bottles. At the back is named as this bar. This bar, maybe this is for a bar in Germany too. It could be. Distilled in 2003, bottled in 2018. This is that explains the price. It's 2018 prices of whiskey. Shan was saying, yes, drinks a lot hotter than 48. Yeah, it's quite a strong attack, I would say, of the whiskey when it starts. You get it in the palate. Maybe that explains why it's not bottled at higher strength, right? Apricots punch in the nose.
It's got a real weird mouthfeel to me. It's like feels more like a liqueur. It's got like that, not quite really viscous, but like that sort of like schnapsy liqueur-y type mouthfeel to it. Not by taste, but the actual texture of it. It doesn't
like syrupy.
Yeah, a little syrupy, a little thick.
Interesting. Oh, and you got any idea where Macduff or who's owned by Macduff is owned by Diageo? Huh?
It's a good question. It's a distillery we don't often get much through, and they tend to come through as Glendeveron, I think.
Yeah,
quite often. Let me have a quick...
Deveron is owned. Deveron is owned by Bacardi. The brand Glendeveron is owned by Bacardi, so most likely then it will be a Bacardi product. I thought that was Milton Duff anyway, but yeah, it could be. This is a distillery that is every time I had a Macduff is very similar to this, very malty, very rich, very syrupy. Doesn't really highlight much of itself, I would say. It's a bit like Glenlossie, for example, or a distillery that is quite malty, sweet, and fresh. So it's used a lot as a filler for blends. Very, very sweet though in the nose. I really like the nose. Very fruity. Shan, you were saying bitterness on the palate.
Yeah, just kind of prompted by Rob. It pops in kind of late. The other thing, I'm going out on a limb here, but the other thing is it's almost, I feel I want to say that it's a little bit bourbony on the palate.
Yes.
Yeah.
You get
I don't know how to describe it, but
grain.
Yeah.
That corn, sweet corn. Is that sort of? I think that is what Rob gets. Is that sweetness? Now that you mention bourbon, the nose could be. It tastes like a very, very light kind of bourbon style, or bourbon whiskey itself, being malt only. Oh, and you might be over the moon with something like tastes like bourbon.
Always.
All right. Well, let's move on so we can get to warm up the palate while this whiskey opens. And we got to the Craftenja bourbon cask, 10 years old, 56.6%, 324 bottles out of this. Bottle for Monier, select by Jack Wiebers. Craftenja is Loch Lomond Distillery. Is one of the various peated styles of Loch Lomond. As we know, Loch Lomond Highland Distillery. I think Loch Lomond is owned by maybe Chinese group.
Yeah, So
Yeah.
they were bought along with Glen Scotia and a couple other distilleries
Yeah.
by a Chinese investor, I think, in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see a lot of that. So there's sort of rumors that they're changing a lot of the core characteristics of Loch Lomond
Yeah.
and producing a lot more for blends and a lot more for bottlers. So a lot of the advice is if you're enjoying these bottles, it's probably worth picking up at the moment because you never know in the next 10 years, it could be an entirely different whiskey. Loch Lomond does quite a lot in the way they're branding towards being a golf sort of whiskey. They do a lot of sponsorships with like the Open and the PGL tours and that kind of thing. And Crofton Gear obviously being something that we only see through IBs.
Yeah.
There's been a couple trial casks that they did as single casks. I think in about the mid 2000s, and then from there it's sort of been a name that's lost anything but an independent bottler, and starting to see quite a lot of these casks from pretty much everyone, and they're all so different and unique.
I think, yeah, the name of Croftasia, it's the name that the distillery gives to the bulk sale of casks.
Yeah. So the
Same way that they William Grant sells Balvenie as Burnside,
Yeah.
and Glenfiddich as Woodhead. Loch Lomond sells their lightly peated malt as Croftasia, and the other ones are Inchmore, I think.
Yeah, so Inchmone and Inchfad are two
Yeah.
names
But
that
it's-
are peated malts that the distillery releases. Crofton Gear is like Burnside, but it's I spoke to Matt Bailey because the society is getting a lot of they work directly with the distillery, and he said that sort of when you produce Inch Murrin, for example, which is the fruity side, they call it Glen Douglas when they then sell it off, so say it's sort of that teaspooned aspect, and then when they produce Inchmone or Inchfad, if they're going to sell it on, they create a Crofton Gear name for it. So it's similar to Inchfad or Inchmone. You'll see a lot of consistencies with them. It's just a name that we get through blenders, and it's just a way of getting more casks out there.
I remember some time ago getting an Inchfad, but I think it's a Inchfad.
We've got one in the Trainline series.
Yeah. Yes. On the Trailland series, and I got another IB from Inchfad. I can't remember what it was. It was an old bottle. I was trying to look. No,
I think you had the
Inchfad.
actual single cask. I think you had the tall, old, weird green bottles.
Yes.
That was the single cask that the distillery produced. Yeah, and then from there it's become like a main peated malt blend that they produce quite often.
A few made it into Australia, and I remember picking up a couple, but they were not great. They were just pretty average whiskey. Morsey just joined. How are you, brother?
Good, mate. Sorry I'm late. For some reason, I had 7:30 in my mind, which is obviously wrong. But I'm here. I'm setting up, and people have helpfully told me what we're having. What are we on to?
We are on.
Oh, yeah, Macduff, Crofton Gay.
Crofton
Thanks,
Gay.
Shan. Got it. Cool.
Crofton Gay.
Crofton Gay. Yeah, how are we saying that? What's the consensus?
Should we do what's called rock paper scissors?
I got my mum here as well, so she can do all the clarifications today.
How would
Excellent.
mum say it?
The angry English one. The Crofton Gear, supposedly, which came from the distillery.
Angry mum.
Does mum know what Crofton Gear means? Because it must mean something in dialect.
Apparently not.
I like it that I'm sitting here and I'm called Angry Mum at the end of the table.
You feed that boy. It's your fault. This one, Rob was not getting any. I'm getting really a lot of fruit. Like
No. That was on the Macduff. Like the nose was
on
almost empty on the Macduff for me. That's what I was saying. Sorry.
This one is super fruity. I'm getting like in Spanish I call marguerites. The flower, the famous flowers that are round, white with a yellow middle, and you just supposed to take the petals out and go like
Daffodil?
Which one?
Daffodil?
Daffodils. Yeah, daffodils. Why English speaking people use such a weird name, daffodils. When you Marguerite is just a more like easy name, like a
Yeah, it's weird too, Jose, because I mean we have marigolds, which is
marigold.
closer maybe.
Yeah, Marguerite is
Marguerite.
a name. Is a name, Marguerite. Margaret, like Margaret. That was a little
We've
Britain.
got margaritas.
Correct. Is margarita is yeah, same. In Spanish is margarita. Is that flower is called margarita.
I prefer the drink.
I take both. This is really fruity.
It's
What
like-
do you reckon?
yes, it's tons of the. So I always attribute crofting gear to being three core things: lemon zest, like real freshly grated lemon zest, like grapefruit. I always get, and then sourdough bread, which is that weird yeasty funk sort of flavor you get from crofting gear, which comes down to their really weird wine yeast that they've been using for like 50 years at the distillery. It's pretty much their signature. But there's also like some caramel in there as well, some like soft vanilla notes. So I think that's maybe what I'm getting instead of your daffodil note, sort of that cross.
Yeah, I get all that caramel kind of syrup in
Yeah,
my
very
palate.
syrup.
Exactly like the same taste that a Mars bar leaves you after you finish it, you know. So like that sort of milky caramel rich, you know. But the nose, I'm amazed by the nose. It's so different than the palate. I'm very lightly peat on the nose, almost none.
There's like barely any peat in this. The peat's like a thickener rather than which is so different to some of the previous bottles we've had, which are like could have hung with like your Lafroigs and your Bunnahabens, and this is so delicate and lightly peated.
Yeah, I agree. And the difference is the contrast with the palate. You get the palate, and the palate is super sweet, a little bit of salt, that umami.
Yeah, like my first pour from the bottle, I got a bit of that peat sensation, but it's immediately settled away. It turned into, I was thinking it's a little bit like malty, or just trying to put my finger on it. And I think your like sourdough yeast call, Owen, is what I was trying to put my finger on there. That's a great call.
Sourdough yeast call is a very good call. And so Moorish, so salty at the end. Let's taste the Milton Duff. Sorry, the Macduff again. Not much again on the nose. Less than before. And on the palate doesn't feel anymore spicy or hot. What is like super rich and malty, like big, thick malt.
And the Macduff is what, 8% ABV lower and drinks hotter, for sure.
Yeah, no, it doesn't for me, but you know, it's potato. Now I go back to the Croftengia or Croftengia, and a little bit of that sort of green cut grass hay starts to come through. Or fresh grass, like that's a Wiebers signature. Yeah.
I was a bit late to the party on pouring, so mine's probably opening up at a slightly out of sync rate. But now I when I first put my nose in, I was going to say to you, Owen, on that note, you know, I always get it from anything made at Loch Lomond. I can call it from 100 feet away because of that sensitivity to the sourdough. And I thought, oh, this one's actually quite low on that. But then over time, that's just breathing right into it. Very wholemeal bready sourdough starter kind of concept.
Yes. Now I'm starting to get more of that dough yeast or literally just pizza dough, just baking, brewing there. It's like, yeah, nice.
That's it, mate. So it's the stage, the proofing. When they say dough proves, it's when, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeast's doing its thing.
Tastes a lot like almost like a white canvas. You know, that would take any kind of flavor profile behind. It's like very, very whiskey kind of generic profile, but just nice. Like very, I find it really balanced now. Yeah, I'm gonna pull back. Oh. All right, maybe we put now the Oldmore and see how these ones evolve. Yeah. All right, Oldmore, 13 years old. This is a distillery, yes, owned by the Bacardi Group. Distilled in 2006, bottled in 2019. Of course, Wiebers cask again, 55.8%. Fighting Fish, 183 bottles. So Oldmore is a distillery that, unfortunately, because of Bacardi's price policy, the supermarkets are very, very, very sharp on price, almost very, very close to what wholesale price is. So you might not get to see Oldmore in many independent bottle shops. Sometimes it's even cheaper to buy Oldmore from the Murphys when it goes on special than to even buy it from a wholesaler. That's why we probably don't stock official bottling Oldmore. What's the Oldmore? The Oldmore is 12 years. No, it's 13 years old. Is it the official bottling? Is that correct? I think 13. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
Wow, this is really nice. Now that's like if that was the bread starter, this is like the toasted bread. It does taste like
Say something biscuity on the nose.
Freshly toasted bread. Mm. And the palate is so sweet, but thin.
I think I'm getting a little bit of Jack's signature Hessian bag, just in the nose, but it's really restrained compared to some of the Oldmores we had previously. It's a bit more flowery than Hessian.
You know what I get at the end? Have you ever had walnuts? And the walnuts with the skin and everything, the aftertaste of walnut is quite bitter, but pleasant. You don't get that out of almonds or cashews or anything. Walnuts give you that sort of, I think it's the skin of the walnut that is quite bitter and the tannins. Roger, what do you reckon? I see you there fighting maybe two screens, couple of glasses.
It's tough work, but someone's got to do it. So yeah, no, I'm liking the Oldmore. I really like the Croft Enya. This is in the sweet sort of palate sort of range that I like. So I'm trying to pick the nose, but can't get it.
Very malty, this one. Now smells like fresh roasted barley on the nose, like chocolate malt. That sort of smell that you smell when you go into a distillery, like grist. Mosey, what do you reckon?
Yep, definitely malty, definitely malt driven. Kind of that really sweet, like oats is a terrible example, but like when you've got kind of a malt or a grain-based food product that's really sweet, like kind of honey oats, but just oats isn't the base. It's like a honeyed malt almost.
And the palate is all honey malt. It's like even like chewing a muesli bar.
I get a heap more of that chocolate malt or roasted malt flavors on the palate than on the nose. The nose is almost like malty, but quite zingy fresh,
yep,
which I don't usually put together.
I agree with that. You get that sort of malt on the palate. Heaps, almost light beer. Not light beer. There's not too hoppy beer, but you know, like your regular pale ale, like your colonial draft or something like that. That sort of literally is just malt. And go back to the Croftensia, and now it's very fruity again, but not the same kind of fruit. Heaps of vanilla for me. What do you guys think on changing of the change of the after tasting the Oldmore, the Croftensia Gold? Robbie?
So I'm really just going back to the Crofton Gaia now. I was just thinking that sweetness on the Altmore reminds me a little bit of if you've ever tasted a wort, like directly as it's been,
yeah,
you know, fresh from the kettle or whatever, and it's got that sweetness, that like grainy sweetness to it. I'm really getting that from the Altmore.
Almost like porridge.
Yeah.
Mm.
And for the crowd that thinks I'm being really weird, I mean, wort is in W-O-R-T. Yeah.
I'm going to put a little bit of water.
Pronounced wort, but that'll just confuse people even more.
What? I don't know.
I've
only ever read it.
A little bit of water on the Altmore, like 5 or 6 drops, see what it does.
It was wort in my head for a long time too.
You know, I've even like had a chance to, you know, spend days at a brewery and whatever, and no one corrected me or I just didn't pick it up. But you know, there you go.
I think that's one of those regional things, Rob, because you go to some distilleries and they call it swaps between on the tours. Not many let you taste it anymore, though. I think the last time I did was Arbeg, which I was surprised about. I thought they'd have a really clinical, don't touch anything tour, but they let you drop the little, almost like the Spirit Thief, but a pint size into the wort ferment and
nice.
Have a swig. But I agree with you on the note. That's absolutely what I was getting with it's not quite like the honeyed sweet like from porridge. It's actually just natural sugar coming out of grain. Yeah.
I put a bit of water in it, like 4 or 5 drops, and it kind of helped a bit. It's becoming quite aromatic now. It's getting very doughy now. Super fresh and pretty now.
Crofton Gay's gone that part of point of no return for me on the sourdough. Now, Eddie flavour is that flavour plus being buried in a heap of proving dough.
Have you tried water on it?
No, probably water at the end for everything for sure. But yeah, no, nothing's had water yet. This end.
Oh, the nose on this Crofton. Wow, that's really good. Oh, and you must be loving this. This is really nice.
Love it. It's like the vanilla is lovely. Because the thing that I jive the most with Loch Lomond is that classic sourdough, lemon zest, and grapefruit. And this has it dialed up to 10. It's so good. But there's a little bit of that vanilla caramel. I don't want to say bourbon, but that's what it reminds me of and why I probably like it quite a lot.
What does Dave thinks? What's in? He's not stop eating. He's hungry.
No.
I live eating for 14 days.
I live next door to a gammy chicken now, so he's loving it.
It's the only probably thing you can do during lockdown is eat and drink, of course. But
well, I just been out on my first day of release cycling all day. I've had a day off, Jose. So
Jose, I've had a day off.
Yes, you're coming out of your house. It's not you're coming out of like a prison or something like that, right?
So once I've got some food in me, I can do some proper tasting. So give me a few moments, please.
Look.
Another bag of mozzarella.
Okay.
No, we've leveled up from the mozzarella. We've got takeaway now.
Sorry to disturb you. Owen, you haven't even shredded mozzarella there. He might be damn. But no, he might not eat that. Just give him some shredded mozzarella. He might not.
Actually.
Yeah.
You know what? He's had cooked meals, 3 meals a day delivered.
3 meals a day.
Yeah.
It's Dave. You've been
I think it's coming.
better than a
Perfect.
staying on the Hyatt, Dave. It's
This is
Funny,
right.
as soon as I realised that you're out of self-isolation, Dave, I've been wondering how many bags of mozzarella were consumed in 14 days.
That was full when he arrived.
My gosh. You
Can I
can
just say how much I enjoy online tastings turning into Shame Dave tastings?
All I can say to all of you is,
Owen, and it's your dad, right? So you don't need to buy home brand. You can buy something a bit better.
It's not just online tasting.
You can splash, get the Italian one.
You think I could afford that? No.
Just for him. No, just for your dad. Now I'm going back to the Macduff, and it's very winey. Smells like empty glass of wine. Sort of like volatile. It's gone. It was the first thing that I got when I got it back, and then I lost that smell again. Croftinga is amazing with a bit of water, I must say. Like just 3-4 drops, no more than that. That's woo. And almost starting to release a lot of the Haitian now. Well, we did let's move on now. We did 3 malts that are between 10 and 15. Now we need to move to something with a little bit more age. Dinston bourbon cask, distilled in 1999. This is bottled in I think it's 18. This one is 2018. Is it? Do you remember, Owen?
20 years old. I think I worked out it was just barely 20, so I think it was early 2019.
It would be 18 or something like that, or just the end of 18, and I think it was 18. No, it wasn't. I can't remember. It wasn't 19. Just 20 years old. All right, 120 bottles out of this. The artwork is made by Alfred Prenslow, which is the person that does the artwork. And bottle of 49.2.
This jumps out straight away like a really good Sauv Blanc or something. Like
Dinston, yeah, you go. Sorry.
Sorry, if you told me this was wine without not telling me what it was, it's got a real lovely crisp white wine nose to it.
Buttery.
Yeah, buttery.
That is because you don't drink much white wine.
I know.
No, it's true. It has that sort of very estery kind of winey. This Dinston is owned by Burn Stewart Group, South African group. Burn Stewart owns Dinston, Bunnahabhain, and Leche. It's one of those distilleries that they just recently started to import a little bit more. Unfortunately, part of it is the distribution is owned by a company that got purchased by the tequila company Jose Cuervo. What was the name? Proximo Drinks, which is a company that owns Jose Cuervo tequila, which is the main brand worldwide. And yeah, they basically don't destinate a lot of resources to promote Dinston in Australia. Like you don't see a lot of neither Bunnahabhain or Leche in Australia for the same reason. South African group? No, Burn Stewart, sorry, South African group. Burn Stewart, yes, it's South African group, true, it's South African group. And Burn Stewart actually owns the famous Mekong, I don't know if you've ever been to Thailand, the rum, the famous Thai rum Mekong. It's the biggest rum distillery in the world. Just that's why I mentioned it. Yes. Wow, the palate on this is amazing. and it's slightly peated. That salt is peat, but doesn't appear on the nose. It's very interesting. I'm more sensitive to peat on my palate than on my nose for these things like this. What I do to get this, if you put a little bit of Dinson in your palate, you close your mouth, but you lift a little bit your tongue, not too much, just a little bit, and you see that salt that you get on the sides. That is peat. It's amazing. Because on the nose, there's nothing. Is anyone with me, or I'm just talking nonsense? Because I'm not so always right, yeah?
I think you're right, man. I definitely get more peat on the palate. I get like a salinity on the nose, maybe more than a peat, but something that I'd probably associate with, if I can't otherwise say where it's coming from, I'd probably say it had to be peat, you know, as opposed to because it's coastally matured or whatever. But yeah, no, I think definitely on the palate, it plays more on the sides and sort of donuts down, runs down the back.
You know, Alex, what this is the palate of bourbon cask Berneves. Like this is totally the palate of those very thin, clinical, and sensational Berneveses, but just lacking on the nose of bourbon cask Berneves, which has a lot of better nose. Usually, is like super.
Glad you said that, because I would have called it as that blind, I think, and mainly because I've had Deanston in a lot of richer casks, like fortified or just first fill. The cask is overriding the spirit a bit, but yeah, no, definitely that kind of Highland peating at a low enough level that it's sort of just salinity and maybe a slight earthiness, but obviously no Isla peat qualities.
Yeah. Let's get our mate Jason Othering. What do you reckon? What's been rocking your boat? How are you, Jason?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I agree with Alex. I was probably getting a little bit of peat, but yeah, definitely that kind of earthy, salty. There's a little bit of kind of mineralic element to it.
Yes, that's mineral.
I'm probably getting it more on the nose than the palate, but I don't know why. That's because I'm drinking lager at the same time, but it's quite nice. The last three have been really good. The first one I pass on.
Yeah. Good, I agree. That's minerality, and I would say that's
that minerality. It's it's like the aftertaste of drinking a mouthful of mineral water, and you're left with that.
You get that salt of the Wow. Do you remember, Rob, the first time you tasted mineral water, or when you?
Yeah, I hated it.
Hated it. It's like drinking needles.
Oh, if you have the good shit, like up from Malmesbury, fuck, that stuff is so awesome. There's so much mineral in that. It's really hard to drink. Tastes a bit like it's rusty water.
Like,
beautiful.
Yeah, probably like really, really basic pH, like really heavy.
Really heavy, yeah.
Yeah. You like Italian water. Italian water is like that. It would be magnetic if you could. There's so many minerals.
Even affects the mouthfeel from memory.
It's very interesting when you talk about waters. One of the reasons that Japanese whiskey is so like it is the water in Japan is actually the opposite. It's not very mineral. It's all the well water there is very low minerals. It's very light, and also it tends to get sorry, it's the opposite. It's very basic. The Italian water is quite acidic, and Australian water is also quite acidic. The Japanese water is quite basic is basic in pH, and makes the whiskeys very light and fresh. You know, that's why Australian whiskey tends to be quite heavy, because the water here it's a lot more dense. You know, it's a lot more dense, a lot more minerals, a lot heavier on the minerals. Wow, this nose is really good. Now I got wine on the Oldmore. When I smell the Deanston and go back to the Oldmore, I smell like white wine, like Owen said, but but on the Oldmore. That kind of vinegary, acidic, cheap wine.
That wine nose is what I had as that note initially is just gone. It's all mineral now. The more I hear you guys talk about it, the more my brain's gone sort of fruit. Oh, hold on, maybe that is more like limestoney mineral aspects to it, and that little bit of air has really helped it.
Shan says the water chemistry is fascinating. Did my head in learning what I need to understand the effect on beers when you were making. Yes, the water pH is it's crazy. It's the reason of life, pretty much, the pH of water, the way it behaves. Everything about water is like fascinating. Water is probably the most perfect liquid, of course, maybe in the world, but in the universe. It's the fact that it freezes at 0, and ice floats on water because it loses density is one of the reasons the oceans don't freeze. It's very interesting. And even on a glacier time, there was life below ice. Water is like it's one of those things that is it's a very in how the no, I wouldn't say biology, but in physics is how the universe is created. Water is like a miracle liquid. It's crazy. How everything is related in this world about water. How plants, it's all about the pH and the osmotic pressure, and how water is used, and the pH is very close related to the transport of nutrients in plants, and also in any kind of cells, and it changes a lot the flavor of any kind of liquid that you use it for beverage. So that's why Coca-Cola is very interesting. One of the most sought after Coca-Colas in the world is the Mexican Coca-Cola. Apparently it's the best Coca-Cola in the world. If you could, technically, if you do a Coca-Cola tasting with the same syrup, but the only thing that varies around the world is the water, the best Coca-Cola, the one that would blindly rank the highest, is the one from Mexico. Very interesting.
Isn't there a difference with some have less maltodextrin versus cane sugar?
Yeah, but if you technically, if you do like this, the same syrup with almost the Mexican, it sounds really bad, but the Mexican Coke is probably the best one. Yeah.
We used to I did mountain biking events down in Victoria, and someone that ran one of the hospitality things at all of those events would always rock up with a crate of boxes of Mexican Coca-Cola with the pop tops, and they'd sell like hotcakes, and it was just better.
Mexican Coke is also, I think, one of the very only ones that's still using cane sugar as a sweetener. Because there's like 3 factories of Coca-Cola in Mexico only. Right? It's like, I think kids start drinking Coca-Cola in Mexico at the age of like 3, maybe less. It's something unbelievable. Wow, this is on the nose. It's sensational, man. I'm getting like baked pineapple. Someone that's been tasting and not saying anything yet because I haven't asked is Josh. How are you, Josh? Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining again.
Very good, thank you. Very good.
How are you liking? What's rocking your boat? Same question as Jason.
The first taste of this Deanston, I was like, right, where do I buy one? But I keep going back to that Croftanger, and in fact, going back to it after the Deanston, it's even better. I really love the exhale on this, swelling around your mouth and breathing out through the mouth, and it filled my sinuses. Just yum. But after every one, I keep going back to that Croftanger, and yeah, that's got my heart tonight so far.
I just did the same that you said because, and it's amazing. The Croftanger after the Dinston smells just like fresh toast. For me. There's that smell of fresh toast that is amazing, right? It's the one that, as it comes off the toaster. The Dinston, wow, super fruity, the Dinston. Wow.
The Croftingers were the originals for me after the Dinston.
The Weathers originals, the candies, yeah, the milk candies. So tonight we got a code just in case anyone wants to buy our next tastings or any of the bottles that we have tonight. As we do every tasting, we give a code. You get 10% off on this on checkout. And because the tasting today was fighting fish, the code is beta. Yeah, there you go, beta. Beta are, and Owen just learned this today. Beta is the name of the fighting fish. That's what I couldn't get in my head. That's it, the betas. You know, you can't put two males together, they fight. It's very interesting until they kill each other. Yeah. It's like British hooligans, pretty much. Yeah, can't. They kill each other. Yeah. One of those things of nature. Very interesting. Wow. Nose on note of this Dinston is nose for days. Alex, you like it?
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking there's not much love going around for the Macduff was just my current thought, but
the other three are.
Oh man, yeah, that Dinston's just baked pineapple. I think you said definitely on that, like it's like pina colada-ish, going super well. And I think I didn't really even like it as much on first pour because I was getting more of that, or maybe liked it in a different way because I was getting more of that old sort of the just bourbon cask straight up, smells like whiskey, and then it just needed to open up a bit. And now it's just gone so tropical.
Super tropical right now. What an amazing thing, the Dinston. And what do you reckon about what we tasted so far?
Awesome. They're all different, all pretty unique, but still got that lovely Jack sign of quality about them. You quite enjoy the Dinston, don't you?
Yeah. So my favourite so far, Jose, the Strathmill I have opened it, just letting it breathe, but so far it's the Dinston.
Hang on, sorry, David. I didn't want to ask you because I thought you were just gonna make me shut up again. Yeah, like I was.
Yeah, go on, keep going.
I was in fear. Okay, which one did you say you like?
The Dinston, number 4.
Okay.
Jose, you've got about 10 minutes before dessert course starts for him.
Oh, I know.
That's another bag of mozzarella.
There's a couple of those to cleanse the palate between courses.
We start with the mozzarella, we move on to the hard cheddar. It's sort of, it's a whole thing in the end.
The tasty, the Jarlsberg, and
Yes, that's right.
Make sure you save a little bit of gummy chicken for me. I'll probably just do a little ring and run and grab a couple. Oh, gone. Oh, no. Dave ate it all. That's why it's too busy. All right. Let's kick on for the next one. I need another glass. So I'm going to go and get another glass. Be back in 1 second.
I reckon it might be going back to that after the Dinston, but that Altmore's gotten super fruity as well.
Yeah.
Liking that a lot more now.
And a lot deeper and richer as well. That malt's coming out really nice, but...
Chocolate salty balls.
Sweet up, fruity up.
Have you not seen South Park?
All right. Put my glass. All right. Strathmill. 23 years old, 1996, bottling 19. Bourbon cask, a 55.1. 149 bottles. Strathmill Distillery, owned by Pernod Ricard. Strathmill is a very big distillery. I'm not sure how big it is, but it's one of the key components of the Chivas blend. I believe, like key, like, you know, very, very, very heavy on that. It's a nice distillery that we don't get to see a lot around, and I would say pretty much anywhere around the world, because most of it is so, all the stock is so committed to Chivas that, of course, Pernod Ricard not owning too many distilleries, they are not, well, probably the contracts or whatever they have, you know, they're not able to dispose of much of this. Alex, have you ever been to Strathmill? It's one of the most beautiful distilleries, isn't it?
Strathisla is.
Strathisla, not Strathmill. Yeah, I was thinking the images.
Yeah, it's good. It's fortunate, I know, because Strathisla is like gorgeous and definitely, probably, without question, the best looking, depending on if you like count the surrounds, but certainly with all the pagodas. But yeah, I think Strathmill. I have been to Strathmill, and from memory, I think you're right about the component part of. It's just a churn house, and looks sort of nicer than bloody Deanston, but yeah, just there to make spirit.
Nose? Owen, this is very Wiebers. Clinical.
Yeah. Toasty oats, bit of like light airy pears, but still that classic Wiebers note we've had in all these bottles.
Pears, fruity, very what's going to say, linear. If this would be a wine tasting, this all would be Chablis, pretty much. Just linear Chardonnay, fresh, mineral, light, you know. It reminds me a little bit, this tasting, maybe Alex or you, to Acorn style. The expression of the distillery on its probably most pure form, I would say.
I think in nearly 30 something bottles of Wiebers, I don't think we've had, there's maybe a handful of bottles that have been cask driven, maybe 2 or 3 at a push.
Yeah.
Everything is always like picking the best bourbon cask, spirit driven whiskey he can find.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we love. You get like Strathmill all in the purest form. There's enough times we say where it doesn't matter what whiskey went into that barrel, the whiskey tastes like the barrel, you know, either the sherry or the wine or whatever. So it's good to see, you know, not very often we get to try nearly 20-year-old Deanston and in its purest form.
And this is an awesome, like, hay farmyard without the funk kind of rural thing going on. Loving it. Sort of like walking through a bit of nature. Because it's got that sort of, I think probably what you referred to, Owen, earlier is that like the Weber Hessian sort of thing, but not like rancio or dank, almost like the fresh version.
Yeah. It's I agree with the barnyard smell, country grass, fresh hay, or it's a sort of smell that every time I go to the country and just wake up in the morning, walk out of the Airbnb or hotel, whatever I am, and it's just that smell.
I was going to say it smells like horse, which, because I had this like I had a portmanteau memory back to, I think it was when I was like hay baling with Grandad. So it's not like the horse part, it's the hay part. But
I got a bit of stable there.
Yeah, like it's definitely a rural.
The association of horse stable, but not like really horsey, you know, like more like the straw they put on the floor of the horse, you know, which is also mixed with pee and poo. So, but you know, it's not that part.
It's more the effect of the sun on the hay that kind of pulls the flavour out a bit, or the smell out a little bit. I'm getting a bit of almost like quince on the nose for me.
Wow, the palate. So green. The palate is like Granny Smith apples. That big acidity, a bit of fruit. Literally, it's like malic acid, which is the taste of apples.
A bit of water that makes the nose line up with that a bit closer too.
Yeah. I could say it's a mild farmyard smell.
This makes me really reminiscent of the first cask Strathmill we had not so long ago in a first tasting, just a couple of years younger. It's because that release was this lovely, complex malt, super fruity, rich sort of profile, and you can see how that's sort of what the distillery is doing.
Yeah, I think the profile of Strathmill is very slightly funky malt-driven malt, pretty much.
Yeah, that's why I tend to get a lot of malt, because obviously it tends to be for a blend component, but it's still got enough complexity to hold its own as a single malt really well, and it brings that little bit of complex fruit, maybe a little bit of richness here and there. I thought quince was like a fantastic tasting note because it's real jammy to me after a little bit of time.
Let me just say, distillery bottle, here it is, distillery bottlings. Strathmill is not something that probably the one that we see. No, I was wrong. It's not Chivas. It's Strathmill is Chivas. It's Diageo. That's the flora and fauna. Yes, true.
You're right about Strathisla, mate. That's definitely
I was totally confused with Strathisla. Yes,
yeah,
correct.
That's definitely
and the only OB is the flora and fauna. Yeah, and then the special releases, which don't count really.
I always think it's quite similar to in style and sort of application to Longmorn.
Yeah, that's a great call. Or Tormore, the same, like this sort of malt-driven, slightly funk. But Longmore and Tormore tend to be quite a lot more meaty, though. Or at least that's my impression for the official bottlings. It's a shame that we don't get to see much Tormore or Longmore around. Yeah, such a great distilleries.
Jose, there was it was a fighting fish Tormore, I'm pretty sure. Yes, and damn, it was so good. Yeah. It was a while back now, maybe a couple of years back, but 3 or 4 even, but man, it was good.
And I think on top of my head, it was a 1988 Tormore for fighting fish. Probably
it was, yeah.
Probably maybe could have been a cask split, maybe, or different cask, just maybe sister to the old train line from Jack. Yeah. Wow.
Pretty good assessment. Go have a look at the crofting gear, and it's crofting gear.
Yeah.
There you go.
We've established it's crofting gear, and we get that from the horse's mouth, Laura Hay, because her granny lives in Loch Lomond.
There you go.
Did you call Laura Hay?
I actually went and asked Laura Hay.
Take that to the bank. That is, yep.
So number 2. So you said like really good quality salted caramel ice cream, like your Haagen-Dazs or your real top quality Italian sort of gelato salted caramel ice cream on the nose there.
Not your Coles middle of the road.
No. Oh, real good vanilla,
cookies and cream.
What's everything?
It's a Messina.
Wow.
Absolutely. I mean, it wasn't like that before. It's developed into that.
Loving that. Oh, the instant, my God, that's so nice and fruity. I must say for them, is impressive the quality of all the malts. Not even one edge. They're all very round. And I can see these malts kind of very attractive for the traditional whiskey drinker. You know, or the traditional Scotch whiskey drinker, they all are very, there's a lot of thought on the on how they decided to call the cask as being very what would you say, very round. They are none of them have an edge now. They're not hot, they're not bitter, they all have great length. I don't know if you guys noticed that. They all have great length. Rob, which one is your favorite right now?
That's a hard call. Like this evolving nose of the Crofton Gear is throwing a bit of a spanner, because that's a fantastic nose now. I would say the Deanston maybe is still holding it by an edge for me, but it's, I don't know. I think they're close running at the moment. I think unfortunately the as we've earlier established, the Macduff's not quite in the same race, but everything else has been real good so far.
Yeah,
I was just saying in the chat, the Strathmill for me on the palate in particular, not the nose, on the palate, gives me a sensation and a reminding a little bit of like liquor-filled dark chocolates, where you get like that like sharp like spirits hit, and then it's immediately cut with that like bitterness of that little bit of chocolate that was also in that same bite. And it's giving me like that sort of memory.
Yeah, I can relate. Sean, what is your take?
They've only just started to really open up for me. I just went back through, and I've been struggling to get much of anything out of the last couple, but I just went back through and got some really interesting things, almost a bit of a sherbet on the Deanston, and there's shitloads of vanilla coming out on that Crofton Gear. I'm actually going to go out on a limb by myself and say I'm having a blast with the Macduff as well. That's really quite interesting. I do agree it's in a different league, but out on its own, it's actually a fantastic drink. I'm loving the sweetness there as well, and I'm starting to get a bit of peat come through. So I think I'll stand with you though, Rob, on the Deanston. That's probably my favourite. Although that Crofton Gear, the vanillas are starting to come through for me. It's almost milky and quite beautiful as well. Cracking lineup. Yeah,
I agree with that, and also with Rob. But we saying that the Macduff is on a different race, but also because it's half the price of the Deanston and the Strathmill too. So if you really kind of think on the projection on that, but once I go back now, it's with a bit my palate a bit more turned on after tasting a few. Now it's smells like just vanilla donut, like glazed generic donut. Literally just generic donut smell. That sort of glazed dough, sweet
dough.
Yeah. That's again is very fascinating that kind of profile. It's very apparent on all the drams, which is kind of, I would say, indicative of the tasting of the palate of the bottler, which is what they choose. Carl says definitely an ashy note on the Macduff with a few drops of water. I have not tried that, Carl. Carl, maybe you can type there. What's been your favorite? What's been the, if you don't want to come up on the camera, what's the so far? What's been impressing you? Let me put some water while Carl types there, maybe. I don't get the ash, but I get a little bit more response there on the noise with a little bit of water. A bit more dull now. Croftensia is the most changeable, but Dinston is the standout for him. Yeah. I think we all agree that Dinston is sensational, the noise. How amazing that, how good a distillery is after 20 odd years, or 20 years. It's just that distillery character of being grassy, fresh, vibrant, not tired, still really, really, really young at 20 years. He's pretty much, it's amazing. The Dinston. How many bottles of Croftensia left? Owen would know.
I think we got 2, although if I'm quick, possibly 1.
Yeah.
Put one away for me, mate.
I
hate things that make me reassess my worldview, but this is one of those.
This is from the man who I was in his kitchen going, "Oh, Loch Lomond, I just, that sourdough.
I can't touch it. I can't touch it." And then this one has done this thing where I liked it at the start, like it was up here, it was nice, it was fresh, fresh out of the bottle, which an open bottle would be. Then it got too much sourdough, and I'm like, this is, a massive garbage heap of sourdough. Hate it. Can't touch it. Push the dram away. And now it's like, come back up to this chocolatey, amazing Jersey caramel mess, which is incredible. But on the nose, that's the case. And then on top of that, because it's peated, it wasn't very much peat at the start, but then I'm getting this peat on the back, which has the combination of salted chocolate plus how good is peat generally. Just the whole thing has become this package. And now I have to buy a Crofton Geo, and I don't want to, because it means I've sold out all my values.
I'll write a 122 at the front of it, and then you'll feel better about buying.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, that's right. Well, then I can tax deduct it. So let's do that. Handwrite society on it.
I agree with Alex. The palate tastes like chocolate with rice pops inside. That's sort of like grainy milk chocolate with rice pops inside, rice bubbles. It's like that sort of, or I would say maybe the caramel bites, the hard caramel.
Definitely caramel. Yeah, it's definitely like not burnt caramel, like borderline sickly sweet caramel.
Yeah, those caramel bites but those caramel, like no, it's not hard caramel. It's like it's almost from the texture of almost like Toblerone style. That is like, it's with a bit of nut, but also it's like that caramel that is not so hard. It's almost like Toblerone on the palate.
And marzipan, but with caramel instead of honey.
I got the same thing with Croftensia. I don't know why I have in my brain this impression of like it's poor man's whiskey, right? Because for independent bottlers, it's like it's really cheap to buy. It's the only thing left in Scotland that is cheap. Is Croftensia.
Must just be Loch Lomond, right, mate? Is it just that the distillery doesn't have a rep that's good enough, or it's weird because it's good spirits? Just
like if you think like as independent bottlers, like every single distillery has gone up in price. The only thing that's been able to save a lot of independent bottlers on the cheaper side is Young Bunnahabhain and Loch Lomond. They are the only things that Bunnahabhain with age is becoming crazy expensive. But that's how now there's so many Staoishas. They are like, 3, 5 years, 6, 7 years, it's like they're cheap. Or you buy that or you buy Loch Lomond. It's they're only the cheap kind of casks that are available in Scotland. So I don't know, got the impression every time I get a price list from somewhere, the Loch Lomond is the best price whiskey of all the range.
Oh, that's
Well,
lovely.
there's a lot. They've got a really good barrel program for both the official bottlings as well. So there's tons and tons and tons of like Loch Lomond 12-year-old inch fads at auction for like random Netherlands whiskey shops, and they end up being at like £35 in auction, £40 in auction, and they're pretty damn good whiskies consistently. And the crofting gears end up being pretty affordable at the same thing. So it's a good. I'm probably going to regret discussing this in like a year's time when I can't buy any of this whiskey myself. But they're good whiskies to buy, to drink, and to have for a little bit of time because they're just really consistently good.
Maybe it's a bit like what I would compare with. So it's a distillery that has not been their own marketing is really bad, because it's one of probably the few distilleries that is their own brand, but have not been able to make themselves a premium brand. Like they've not been able to capture luxury market, right? Every other distillery tries to do that. Balvenie, Glenfiddich, all the Diageo distilleries pretty much have their own lines. You try to get the high-age statements with the pretty bottles and decanters and everything. And Loch Lomond has not really probably been able to. That's why it's just that probably that impression of it's just middle of the road whiskey, and doesn't get that love. Even the Rosdoux that we got, they are all really old. The old Rosdoux, which is unpeated Loch Lomond, they are 30 years old, and they are cheaps for a 30-year-old whiskey. Yeah, all the old Rosdoux, remember, and they're like crazy cheap.
Yeah, and same again, like because Rosdoux is a closed still that they used to use up until 2000, and then now they make grain under the Rosdoux name.
Yeah.
And I think Carl makes a fair point that they are doing a lot of different things, and sometimes like the OB range and their marketing, that kind of suffers. But we kind of get to reap the rewards with all these fantastic single casks coming through, and we trust people like Carsten and Jack to consistently pick good whiskey. So if you see these guys bottling inch fads or crofting gears, you've probably got a really, really good chance of it being great whiskey.
I'm going to ask that question to Jens, for example. I'm going to ask him tonight, because he has not bottled any Loch Lomond or Croftingia. Perhaps he just doesn't like it, like at all. Like it's like I just don't like it. Something like, why you don't get to see Croftingia? Because you're seeing them more and more now.
Yeah, they're coming from everything from North Star, obviously Whiskey Agency, Jack. Most of the casks are 2005 to about 2010 thereabouts.
Yeah.
And they're just weird and random. Like SMWS works directly with the distillery, so they get 122, which is a crofting gear cask, directly from the distillery. And they've picked some real weird and wacky casks, stuff that blind you wouldn't call crofting gear because there's next to nothing in the way of peat in it, and then stuff that's so far in the other direction it's like a Stayosha Bunnahabhain.
Yeah.
So what's coming out of the distillery is zero consistency, but if you see like we had with the Whiskey Agency bottles, if you see Carsten bottling it, he's probably picked one of the absolutely fantastic casks from that range.
Yes, knowing Carsten's kind of palate, he will go for things that are more probably to the profile of like an old style Isla, for his bottlings.
Well, that's a good example. Like I got the ones behind me. Good examples. I got like a bottle from Claxton's, and then the Whiskey Agency bottle, and they're one tastes like an old Lafroig, and one tastes like a slightly salty Talisker.
Yeah.
So they're really fun whiskies to try, just because there's so much you get from them. Like Alex going, "Why would I buy this?" to "Please put me one aside" is a good example of how that whiskey changes and the different consistencies in the bottling. And because it's just blended whiskey from their perspective, we get some great stuff that they just didn't really think about at a good price.
Yeah, and I must say also probably from an independent bottler point of view, it's a very good value cask to buy because they might turn out really good. If not, they still worth to on sell if you don't decide to bottle them. But they're probably some of the slightly bigger bottlers, but they will buy like 10, 20 cask or more at a time.
And of course, you look
the,
at
the whole range of them. It will be so different to each other that you can pick what you like and what you don't, and it will be easily sellable again. And it'll be so expensive to resell and bear the cost of the resale.
And 10 to 15-year-old peated whiskey that's good quality is quite hard to find at an affordable price. And nearly all of these crofting gears have come through at, I think, sub $200.
No, 15 years. 15-year-old peated whiskey, impossible today. Isla is crazy expensive.
So it's good to look elsewhere for this stuff.
15-year-old Isla today, you're paying 25 to 30% more than you pay. The only other thing is the unnamed Ognis. Well, let's move on with this one that I wanted, so we get to taste them all and get discussion. I've been waiting to taste this for a long time. Lafroig 2011. Bottle number 22 of 120. So let me just say
this was a fun one to bottle. So this is part of the story of how it's taken you so long to get Wiebers bottles over here.
Yeah.
So this was distilled in 2011 and bottled in 2016. And from memory, this is one that you bought, I think, only 3 units of at Limburg. And
no, this one my allocation was 3 bottles. I normally order in 6s or 12s,
which says a lot about the quality of the cask. So I think we sold a couple, that kind of thing, and then I went to bottle the cask and sort of look at it, and you go, it's a little bit cloudy, so it's been sat there for a while, and I'm looking forward to these lovely sort of chewy bits of the whiskey and trying what Lafroig that has been waiting for us for nearly 5 years tastes like.
Let me just try to find this when this was. If I can find it on my list. No, 20 emails. God, Google is so bad. Gmail is so bad for the search, because when you search 2 different terms of Lafroig 2011, it will come with every result that it says Lafroig and every result that comes with 2011. So let me.
You should be able to put "and" in capitals in between those two so that it picks up on both.
Space?
Yeah, not? So Lafroig space A&D in capitals space 2011.
Space 2011. Let's see if it comes up. It doesn't, like, it was used to, I don't know, it used to be even easier to search for things like using the asterisk as wildcard, and sometimes they just don't recognize that anymore. When you want to do search, it doesn't still end 2011 in capitals. It still gives me 120 pages of results on my email. It's crazy.
Oh, look at me. I'm Jose. I'm popular. Everyone emails me.
Yeah, I got 4,500 emails without reading. Let me see if I can find the release CD. I actually got excited because I just got a new release of Jack email the other day, which again, my location is so small that I need to wait for maybe another years to Croftingia and Lafroig. Oh, here, I think this one it is. Maybe this one, 1999. No, that's the postcode. So what is this? This Cameron Bridge. No, I didn't buy that. The Pirate Das Guest on Shift Part 6. Yeah, I bought that one. The Moscatel cask. No, it doesn't come out in this one. Maybe even Lafroig. PC 2011 5 Yare. Yes, it's this one here. 5 years old, 5 years old, 53.1. Yeah, it's this one. It was here. This got bottled in 2018 or maybe earlier, but I got the offer in August 2018 for this product. August 2018. My God. What I was doing in 2018, I got no bloody idea. That's when we got the Macduff also. The Macduff is 14 years old, he says here. The Macduff is 14 years old, 2003. And then the Jack's Pirates, it will be the Moscatel, the 60.3%. Yeah, Moscatel cask, which is Owen, 7 years old. The Croftenja ADC is, what is ADC? What's the Croftenja 11, Owen?
Old Distillers.
All Distillers, that's ADC. All Distillers Croftenja, bottled in 2018, of course, 11 years old. The Glencadam, the Lafroig, this Lafroig, and the Tobermory, Old Train Line, 95. Did we got that one?
Which one? Yes, we did. We sold that almost immediately after the tasting.
I can't even remember that. I remember it, like, let's say I started buying from Jack on 2017, on early 2017. I didn't get Old Train Line allocation until probably 2018. Because this is more sought after releases.
Well, the bottles we got were phenomenal. So
yeah. All right, Lafroig, which is something that we don't get to see that often. It's a young Lafroig. Wow, the nose. It's so mild. Oh my gosh.
It'll open, mate. Like we all agree, but it's growing.
Wow. But also, I wouldn't normally taste Lafroig like young and current in like this kind of glass because it normally bends your nostrils. Lafroig at 53%, but normally Lafroig of these specs in these big glasses are not a lot of medicine, eh? Oh wow, all the bloody excited. Viscosity is insane, sticks like glue. It's a keyword search, not Boolean. It's a keyword search. Then what does it mean? I know the Boolean is Boolean is like one or the other?
Yeah, 0 or 1.
Yeah.
True or false.
But then with a plus symbol, it should work, right? If I do Lafroig plus 2011, no.
I think Jason's point is it's because a Boolean operator is just like a search term that has a specific operation in the search, and it doesn't operate on that. So it's just going to find all the words that you put in, as opposed to using the words to craft a different search.
Can you search Boolean on Gmail? Maybe not. Doesn't allow Boolean function. No.
It's gotten too smart for its own good.
So yeah, free word searches or whatever they're calling it is the new thing.
You could probably nest it,
Probably.
which is put it in quotations, which forces the two keywords together. But yeah, a lot of the systems use keyword searching.
So if
I like Zoom's tech for Jason's screen because when he drinks the drab, it looks like he's vaping. It blurs his glass out. And then suddenly there's this movement of some blurring if you hold it to the side of your head. It's like, oh, is Joe sitting in his house vaping? But no, he's enjoying whiskey.
So then I put, then between quotations, you said, Jason.
Yep.
And what do I do? Lafroig plus 2011.
No plus, just put them in quotations.
Lafroig space 2011 quotations.
Yeah, see how that goes.
Yeah, better. Only 19 pages of results, not 150. Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Information literacy out of hours.
That just means, Jose, that you've bought whatever it is, 16 pages of 2011 Lafroigs.
No, this like 20 like all price lists, one left, right, and center. But funny enough, not that email that I had from Jack came in, like all the Zanzibar whiskey agency, like, but just not that email.
Other order, try 2011 Lafroig.
But another
Depending on
email,
how it is in the.
another email
I
came
know.
out from a resent from Jack's with a different, probably a different invoice or a different, probably because this is on an Excel, is on an Excel spreadsheet attached to the email.
I reckon quotations are making Google find those words where they follow each other directly.
Yeah.
So it's not going to pick up if it's Lafroig bottled 2011, won't come up in that quotation search.
Yeah, it's looking for that as a single object.
It will look for it continuous, right, with nothing in between. So probably this will be Lafroig something or Lafroig bourbon cask. Yeah, let me see if I can go back and get the same search. And 2011 is maybe this is maybe, I hope I'm not boring everyone with this, but this for me is actually quite interesting. 2018.
It's better than the Euro soccer, mate, watching this.
Yeah. I'm actually loving this nose.
I was going to say, I forgot what we're actually looking for on the Google search because I've been enjoying the Lafroig too much.
Oh, yeah, it's here. Yeah, I got it. Yes, okay, because Lafroig is on a spreadsheet, and in the spreadsheet in Google is on one column is Lafroig, on another one is the 2011. So that's why I can't find it when I put it between with quotations, but most likely finds the PDF, but it won't be together when I do the yeah, it's good to know. Now I know another thing to search stuff. Wow, the nose on this, no medicinal at all, huh? But she has like kind of that 80s, not 80s, even 90s Lafroig, more like charcoal, and not so pungent.
It is almost clean Lagavulin campfire, Pete. It's got something that makes it not lager, but it's in the ballpark. Sorry, Jace.
I was going to say it's almost a little bit tobacco-y or cigar-y at the end.
Ashy is 100% it, isn't it? It's like it's got a weird combo of lager, refined peat, Ardbeg ash, and none of the Lafroig iodine. Bizarre Kildalton expression.
And we only got 3 bottles of this. How many? In the Prenslow says how many? 120 bottles. Tom music called me here. Get here. No, that one is not that one. Jack here, Proforma. Yeah, good. My let me see my reply. I know that was a different email. What is it? You said encloses this email. They send me the Proforma here for different ones. I'm trying to see how many I ordered, how many I got. I find very rare to order only 3 of these stuff. Because these ones, we got 2 Lafroig. Owen, do you remember what was the other Lafroig 5 years old that we got?
Yeah, so I think we got or the theory was that they were 2 sister casks, or Jack did his funky split cask thing. One was Prenslow, which is the one we got now.
Yeah.
The other one is Steamships.
Yeah.
The theory, because they were about like, I think we went through this, Rob, when we were in the shop. It was like a 0.4% difference. So we think that either he's done like Jack's funky thing where he's bottled a cask after like 8 months. He's dumped half a cask and bottled another one 8 months later, or if he's maybe slightly lowered the ABV for the Prenslow one to get more bottles out of it or something of the kind. But we had We had 3 of each, I think, the Prenslow and 3 of the steamships.
Yeah, because I remember we were looking at them on the shelf side by side, thinking, how odd is it to see any one of these, let alone 2 releases that are both a young Lafroig like this? So I think something had to be up.
Same distilled, same bottled, same age, nearly the same ABV. So I think Jack is one of the most funky bottlers out there. Like reading I remember showing you the label of the Kalila, the 31 we tasted, and it says Kalila 31 bottled 88 days after cask number whatever. So Jack doesn't really seem to follow the rules. He does his own thing.
I just
Good
saw
on him.
the email that I sent them. They gave me 4 bottles of these, apparently. We had 4 bottles of these, is that right? Or 3 arrived?
3, I think, from memory.
In my order, there were 4. I just checked my order like from 4 years ago. Of course. Maybe they hopped me a bottle. Of course. 18th of March 2018. I see. Please see a requested a location. And I had ordered 12 of these, and they gave me 4. Yes, I got it here. I just requested 12 bottles of these, and I got 4. Oh well. And I got 4, but only 3 arrived. My God. After like 4 years of, I didn't even do inventory check on what I got from Jack, to be honest. The problem, what I think I never done something so tedious like getting these bottles out of Europe to get them to Australia. But wow, the notes on these. Robbie, what do you reckon?
I think it's impressive. Because like Alex said just before, it doesn't have that typical iodine hit that you expect from Lafroig, and that's actually making it really interesting and actually really pleasant. Because like other than like these days, you know, back in my youth when I was discovering whiskey, the Lafroig 10 was, you know, the first in quotes good whiskey that I had, and I thought, oh wow, this has got to be great. And then I've fallen further and further away from that, you know, having tried other things. And this is so far from that typical Lafroig. Doesn't have that dirty ash, doesn't have that iodine. It's got, you know, a much neater and cleaner peat on the nose, which I really like. And I just went back and had a cheeky another nose of the Crofton Gear, and it still has that like vanilla and caramel going on. It's still just a bowl of excellent ice cream. It's fantastic.
I like the vanilla ice cream smell. A bit of
that's a fucking great analogy.
A bit of like rum and raisin.
But just high quality vanilla. I've been trying to put a label to that for months on different whiskies, and that's it. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So what's the new things from Jack? I was opening here. This is a Braival 23-year-old, 1997. Glengarran 97 also. Glenbergie 2012. Tomatin 2011. Jack Parrott 2014. Another Glenbergie 2012 for the 40th anniversary of 1 year. That's a split cask between then a Glenlossie 2009. Yeah, wow. That's the last release that I did. Braival, we haven't had many of those. Alex, have you had many of those with the SNWS?
Yeah, there's been a couple, mate, but they're usually it's a late code, so it wasn't bottled for a fair while. And the ones that were bottled earlier, Hen's Teeth, and the new ones are all pretty young and bourbon cask. I'm not sure if there's a filling contract with them. I don't think there is. So I think it's brokers or, you know, direct cask procurement, but not spirit into chosen wood.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, they're very good. But I've only really had, and I think the society's only really done in modern day, like between your 9 and 13-year-old first and second fill bourbons, which are just real, like they're fruit bombs basically.
They tend to be more than a month, like 100
Yeah.
bottles, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean they're absolute bangers, but and at worst they are just a bit dull. They're never bad. They're just sometimes they're a bit, whiskey flavored whiskey kind of bourbon cask. If there's nothing particularly special about it, but some of them are great, particularly the ones that are first fill bourbon, where the spirit is still present in spades, and so they're just like unbelievably good Carmen Miranda hats of fruit.
Carmen Miranda hats.
You can quote me on that, but acknowledge it because I'm quoting it now. Screw you, Dave Broom. That's my one.
That's more original than Dave Broom's.
And less sexist than Jim Murray's, amazingly, because I said Carmen Miranda hat, but still somehow it goes under the radar of Jim Murray's level. So count it.
Let's recap everything. Milton Duff.
Whiskey gets you drunk.
Whiskey gets you drunk.
That's my McDuff summary.
The palate is pretty good though. But this is something that you can have copious amount of it. And it won't hurt either the pocket or the palate. I reckon. And every mate around you will probably like.
The compliment I can give the McDuff now is that it's not drinking as hot as it was originally.
Yeah.
Mine's empty. Is that a compliment?
Croftesia, now I can smell not much after the Lafroy. A bit of candy now, like just sugar candy.
Deanston's nose is just still mind-blowing. It's awesome. After the Lafroy.
But the palate on the Croftesia, oh my God.
It's somehow sold out now, Jose.
It is, yeah, someone snapped the second one, isn't it? Let's go now to Oldmore. Hay, straw. Or like canes, smell of cutting a cane. I remember I've done that before, cutting canes. Now, great salt on the palate on the Oldmore.
It's definitely come out a lot more over the tasting.
I think a good. We only need an hour and a half, Jason, just to sit on the Oldmore. But it's actually, like as you said, it's like now it's the
good length too.
Very nice. I like that. Deanston. Been looking for this one after 4.
Here's the good stuff.
To be honest, Deanston is not one of those distillers that I see an IV and I go straight up. I don't even look at it normally, because I would say normally it would be boring or just very, very, very common. And this is actually very nice. It smells now to me like rice pudding. Or a bit of like piña colada too. Like that's, I think Alex, you said piña colada about it. Shan, the Deanston, good.
I enjoyed it before. It's not doing a great deal for me right now, though. I don't know if something else has muted it down, but I did just observe to myself that it's no longer drinking hot or bitter like it was when I first got into it. It's actually going down really easy.
I'm really liking the nose. So mild. I'm Owen. Sorry, I'm Owen. I'm scared. I don't wanna interrupt David. You know, he seems very.
Yeah, no, sorry. He's
Can you ask him if he has 2 minutes just to share?
Have you got 2 minutes for 2 minutes? Your gracious.
Hi, David. Sorry, I didn't want to bother you too much right now. Would you like to share your impressions today with us?
So I still think it's the Deanston, actually number 4. I was really looking forward to this Strathmill, but it kind of fell a bit flat for me. And maybe after that, maybe the Altmore. So maybe after the Deanston, the Altmore.
Yeah, well, you know, when I'm reading at the back, Dave, it says, "Do not have with fried chicken the Strathmill." I forgot to say that at the beginning. Yeah, man.
No whiskey in the world has ever said that. It's always appropriate.
Yeah. Let's go now, Strathmill.
Still crofting again.
I still think the croft, that vanilla and caramel and big lovely explosion on the crofting gear is golden.
I'm liking the Strathmill. Let me just see. I want to see these. Is what Strathmill? Yes, Julian just sent me this. Oh, sorry. You guys can see. You guys can see here. All right. I need to do this and this. Maybe there we go. Julian from Whisky and Element just sent me this 26-year-old Strathmill that he just received. I asked him for a couple bottles for myself and the tastings and whatever. So it should be really good. Hart Brothers Strathmill. Sherry butt. So yeah. It's good to see.
I was going to say, it's hard to tell from a picture, but it looks like an amazing color. And if you're saying it's sherry, that...
Yeah, it looks very good. Like, Hart Brothers are very nice. The only problem... 48.1, that should be good. The specs are very good. 26 years old, sherry butt, Strathmill, cast strength. The first shipment that they did from Hart Brothers was only young malts. But now they got a little bit of older stuff, so it's good. Hart Brothers is, unfortunately, like many bottlers, they bottle for Scotch palate, for the Scottish people, which is very different than the international palate. Like, you know, they end up buying bottling standards on price too. Probably because they might get a lot of shit from the locals if they bottle too expensive stuff, but which Gordon MacPhail does really well in that case, because Gordon MacPhail bottles the common stuff for the Scottish, and then they bottle the expensive luxury stuff, which is amazing for international customers, which the Scottish do not buy because it's too expensive. But the smaller bottlers like Hart Brothers or, you know, Murray McDavid, they're still bottling these probably very Scottish whiskies. They're Scottish for the Scottish whiskey for Scottish, not Scotch whiskey for the international market, which would pay a lot more. You know, that's what the success of many of the bottlers that were English or European that were bottling and buying whiskeys historically for the outside market of Scotland, right? Samaroli intention was not to sell whiskey to Scottish. That's why what we were speaking was different, and same with, you know, Whiskey Agency or even even the English Kingsbury. You know, I don't know, Milroy's, they were not bottling whiskey for the Scottish. They were bottling whiskey for the people in England and the rest of the world, Japan, and which Hart Brothers did a lot for America. Some of the American Hart Brothers were really some of the best whiskeys around. Signatory did that for some of the brands that were mostly sold overseas, like Prestonfield. Some of the Hart Brothers 30-plus-year-old whiskeys that were available not so long ago, until like probably 5-6 years ago, still at retail in some remote places in the US, where that's crazy good. Balmors from the 70s, 60s, Springbanks, Stratilas, crazy stuff from those times. Good to see that they're getting some of the older age statements. Wow, now the nose of the Strathmore now is, I need to give it a bit of a rest to my nose. And now, what is this? It's coming like dry breadcrumbs and a bit of kind of strawberry on the Strathmore. I'm gonna put a bit of water because I haven't put water on this one. Alex, you are the one that put water at the end.
Yeah, I've done them all now. Which one are we talking about? Sorry.
The Strathmore.
Yeah, didn't really do too much. I think I agree with Dave. You know, it was sort of, I was looking forward to it, and it fell a bit flat with the bookends that were around it. Nothing wrong with it at all. Very tasty, but just water didn't sort of bring it above the two that surrounded it. And water in the Deanston just amplified.
Oh, really?
Everything about it. Yeah. Not very, I never do it very much, obviously, but yeah, just a tiny bit.
I did water in Strathmore. I'm liking this Strathmore.
It brought out a bit more of the sweet, took a little tiny bit of the barn out of it for me, but I thought that was awesome, just transportative back to that rural thing. But yeah, no, water didn't sort of make me go, wow, that's a different dram with water.
Wow, water on the Deanston is outstanding. Wow, it's like fields of flower now. Has everyone done that? Like 5-6 drops of water on the 5-6 drops of water on the Deanston, and it's like fields of flowers. Wow. Hello. It's more Ben Nevis now, the Deanston. It's literally could be like a 20-year-old Ben Nevis bourbon cask. So floral. Wow. So a few people already left pretty much with all the regular suspects around. The tasting for next week, before we finish the tasting tonight, the tasting for next week. So I'm going to show off, we're going to need to put everything that we got on. So we got two really good Kaulilas, one of those very rare bottlings of La Maison de Whisky. Again, both.
Do you want to swap cameras?
Yes, correct. Maybe remember I need to swap cameras. Not the usual suspects. So there are two Kaulilas, one Sauternes, the other one Burgundy cask. Both bottle are, the Sauternes is at 58%, and the Burgundy is bottled at 46%. They do not say if they are single or vatted malt. So we don't know. I've been requesting a location for this release for a long time, and finally we got one bottle of each. So lucky. But you gotta understand, the biggest retailer, the biggest retailer in the world of fine whiskeys, you know, the kind of clients they have. But really looking forward to taste this. Also a little bottle from my collection, Kaulila Artist number 6 bourbon barrel 242 bottles at 61.5. I remember this. My problem collecting artists is I end up opening all the bottles that I try to save, which doesn't work very well. I'm very good at collecting artists. But they are so good.
Empty artist bottles.
I collect empty artist bottles. It's terrible. I just can't. I need to. I started from this year. Like I need to keep more than one as a backup because I end up opening the only one that I get. And spread the word. Maybe the best whiskey I've tasted this year. This Kaolila 34, Owen. Yes, 34. 1983 bottle for Wiebers Finest Whiskey. Finest Whiskey is a shop in Germany. Remember, we tasted it north of Scotland. I tasted this whiskey 3 or 4 years ago in Limburg. Bottle in 17. So 30. No. No, Yare Finest 9 Yare of Finest Whiskey, 2017. So these were 83, 34 years old, yes, or 34, 35. Don't know. This for 9 years anniversary of Finest Whiskey, their shop in Berlin. It was stunning when I tasted it. I bought a bottle. There's only 52 bottles of it. I'll probably ask now to keep another one aside for me because it's actually excellent. Cask strength Kaolila 34 years, 51.5%. That is stunning. And we have I have just put online, and I come back when I get the whiskeys. I just launched Bunnahabhain tasting. On the website is there to be purchased. If you guys use the beta code, and it's actually really good value. We priced it today with Owen, very sharp price. And it's a Bunnahabhain tasting, one of those distillers that we love because it's so varied. And let me just change here. Just the big draw cards, because the rest is Bunnahabhain 12, 18, a few IBs, a nice 18-year-old short-on whiskey. We got this whiskey agency, 1973, 35 years old. Refill sherry. I'm really excited about this one. Bottle in 2008. So there we go, bottle 13 years ago. Crazy, bottle 13 years ago. 1973 Bunnahabhain. Really looking forward to that.
I think it's interesting that they got 509 bottles out of a 35-year-old cask.
I know. Pretty amazing. The ABV is 50.1. Yeah, it's as we know, as we know, whiskey agency characterizes for having whiskeys that are really, really fruity. So a refill sherry, I can only imagine it being like really just pretty, interesting on whiskey base, and I'm gonna put the link, of course. This is the link on the chat of the whiskey based bottle. It's only 300 euros, of course. That's probably what it costed when they released it. He has an average score of 89 with 54 boats. So that's, I must say, it's quite reliable when you got 54 boats. Never trust whiskey base when there's like a 90 or whatever, and it's like 5 boats on there. So yeah. I'm very, very, very excited to taste this. Wow, the Lafroy. Have you put water on the Lafroy? Oh my god. Who's done that? Owen,
Sorry, what was up?
did you put water on the Lafroy at all?
I haven't.
Fruit bomb when you do.
Oh my god.
It's been sitting for a little bit and just I kind of just been enjoying it. Like 5-year-old Lefroy, just
No,
phenomenal.
5, 6. Alex, yeah, it's amazing.
Just yeah, and it's almost weirdly more Lafroigy, even though it's not got the iodine and the identifiable Lafroig features. When you put a bit of water, more Lafroig.
Lemon bonbons in there as well, like chewy caramel, not chewy caramel, like
This is like the very early years of John Campbell when he had not already smoked a lot.
Definitely fruit there.
Heaps of fruit.
Mm.
Before this like contemporary Lafroy, which is like really iodine and smoke forward with water, is wow, it's almost, I would say almost late 80s, some of the very first it
can take a lot of water though as well.
Some of the very first bottles after they changed the label to the unblended. The unblended, most of the unblended Lafroigs are really, really fruity. But that's what when they changed to a 10-year-old label without the unblended, with a white 10, they are more like this style. Wow, they're nice. Who else has added water? Yeah, someone? Yeah. Owen, yeah, now. Yeah. Roger, too. Jason, what do you reckon? Roger?
I'm sorry, I didn't actually add it to the Lafroig. I added it to a few of the others on your recommendation, and I've kind of got through it already. So
you already finished it.
We are discussing that we've made a strategic error, Jose, in not buying Jack Wiebers 30 ml samples. It's not a mistake we'll make again. Our 2 rules of whiskey are: if Overeem have a special release, buy it, and if you do a Jack Wiebers tasting, buy the 30 ml samples always. So,
where's Justin and Dom on here, Jose? Because if that comment was made and they were here, I would be getting the shreds ripped off me for this.
They are.
Well, I buy 15 of everything, and usually I'm the butt of all jokes, and all these idiots are on. Yeah. But they're away today, so I'm escaping.
Justin back to 15 mils. He's joined your side, Morsey.
Well, you know, when you run so many tastings, sometimes you just have to cave.
He said he had a turning point. He's like, yeah, I love it, but I think I'm on the Morsey camp now, 15 mils.
Sometimes the turning point is being told by your doctor to drink a bit less. That's occasionally how it goes.
The strategy is you buy the 30s. I don't know if you can see or you can't, but like you pour half and then you've got another 15 for another round.
I do like that.
Yeah,
it's a good strategy.
Rob's thinking ahead there. You get to enjoy the tasting twice.
Wow, this is so good. That is look, to be honest, 15 is enough to taste. The problem is when you enjoy something, it's not enough to enjoy.
We want to be able to go back in time, and I want 45 mils of the Deanston and 7.5 mils of the Macduff. We just want to be able to play with it, but we can't.
Maybe we should do we should figure out a way to you just choose how many mils of each you want. Of each dram.
Oh, and your job is about to get like 1,000 times harder.
I can see the excitement.
Like you get the tasting right on the product page. You get a tasting. You put every dram.
Yep, they're all listed.
Which are drop down list if you want 15 or 30 each of them, and you choose how much you want. You want 15 of the Macduff.
You're right, Jose, but don't stop there. Like it's like 5, 10, 15, 20. Go. Let people have real choice.
So you say you've got a total of 180 mils to play with, and just drag the sliders for every sample for how much you want.
This is good.
I can see Owen crying in the corner here. You're right, mate.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm 6 drams in. At this point, nothing can hurt.
But that actually would be cool. Imagine you go to a tasting and you can buy how many meals you want of each. Then everyone's like end up buying everything from the 1973, and then like 50 meals of the 1973, and then 10 just the minimum to smell.
I was just about to ask, could I buy like 60 mils of that and you can just forget the rest? I'll pay full price.
And also you just join out around like 8:15.
Yeah, just exactly. I don't want to talk to you. I'll come in right for when that dram starts. I'll ask Owen to text me when you're like about a couple of minutes away from tasting that one. I'll just tune in, do that, drink 60 mils in about 10 minutes, and then I'll be off.
And we'll all just give you shit for not drinking all of them.
That's not new though, mate. That's what I get anyway. So.
Maybe we can even incorporate like a buzzer, like when you get on the pub when your meal is ready. So your drum, it's the time of your drum when your buzzer just rings and like, okay, it's 8 o'clock. They're going to the Bunahami 73. Buzzes are run 8:15.
I feel like
an app. You just need a really complex
2021. We need to somehow incorporate QR codes in this.
We've been thinking about QR codes. I've been thinking on QR codes. The problem is there's no integration on our website provider, on our e-commerce provider with an QR code generator, which could be really easy. There will be integrations, but there's none officially available as a plugin, so that would need to be like all hard coded with whatever. Because ideally, what I would like to have is that you just are able to print a label for the bottles, and it just automatically generates a QR code that is printed on a label machine easily for each bottle. So when you got your little sample and your label comes in and the corner is a QR code that you beep and takes you to the bottle.
Yeah, you should be able to do that.
I think I can do it, and I think we'll have a discussion about it, and I think I can do it for the tastings.
Yes. Oh, and the problem is that the timing to do that, the time required to do that with the technology is available is too slow and doesn't worth the time. There should be an integration, seamless integration, which just installs it directly on the print button. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Also change your camera over.
Like the print.
Has anyone else seen the eye change?
like the print button that does prints the barcode you're printing now. Imagine you press the print now,
and it just prints a barcode.
And it prints a barcode. Prints a QR code. The problem is that the provider we use doesn't have one of those. What do you call it? Integrated APIs with a QR code software.
What do you want the QR code to do? Link to your shop to go, here's the bottle, or
correct. Yeah. Every sample we do, yep. Let's say that generates every time you print a label, it comes with a QR code on the side. So,
I reckon if we have a chat on Tuesday, I reckon it's something that we can do, or maybe we can have a chat and work out how we do it.
Easy.
It's a really cool idea, and I think it's something that we should maybe look into.
It is easy, but it requires too much time right now. Trust me. I thought on this like 2 years ago about how to do it.
Is it easy just to send the link? Like, here's the links to the bottles that are on for tonight. These ones are available. These ones are sold out. Here's the whiskey base link.
No, we could do it. We could do it for certain. We could do it for certain bottles that we do in our tasting packs, the common tasting packs. But for things that, for the amount of different samples that we do, I would like to do that our backend generates it automatically.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Otherwise, if you want to print one label or 10, or we got a bottle that we never done samples of it, and you want to still print it, and you don't need to go to a QR code generator, grab it, copy and paste it. Also, generate the QR code on another page, then copy the QR code, bring it to the label printer. That takes just too long.
Just where it's not available for sale, you need a QR code for your dreaming buddy because it's sold out already. Enjoy it now.
My God, the Deanston.
I've got a head, guys. It was awesome to see the regs. And I assume everyone for Kalila.
Mike Leyland says 6, 4, 2, 3, 5, 1. So 6 is. See you, Alex. Thank you for joining, man.
Good on you guys.
Female set.
I call you tomorrow. I need to talk to you about Whiskey Abbey because I had an idea.
Yeah, awesome. And I love your earlier idea. So let's talk about it and then I'll book it in.
Yeah,
Done.
Cool. Mike Leyland says 6, 4. So Lafroig, then Deanston, then Croftanger, then Oldmore, then Strathmore. Yeah. I'm agreeing with number. This Lafroig is unbelievable. I must say, so gentle. I'm very close to Mike. Yeah. Roger, Deanston first, second Croftanger, last Lafroig. Oh, Roger, you didn't like the Lafroig, too much smoke.
It wasn't last, that was 4th.
I know, 4th, sorry. Where's no, Lafroig is number 6, you put it 4th. Yeah.
I don't think I could split 5, 6. And look, they were both pretty close to 2. This was a great range tonight. So
I think the biggest thing that tonight's show was consistency
and
true character to all the distilleries. The Lafroig really surprised me. This is the classiest young Lafroig I've tasted in a very long time. I'm loving it right now. I might take this leftover bottle home. No, I take the bottles. Funny enough, I take the bottles home, the ones that I don't want to drink, because at home I drink very little. So I only drink at work. I'm the opposite of all of you.
I'm jealous of your job.
Yeah. Send me your CV, Roger. We get you down here. Wow, this Lafroig. Dave, what do you think about the Lafroig?
So you know me. Yeah. I'm not eating chicken or cheese, Jose. So my palate's okay now.
I'll get the mozzarella in a minute.
So the thing I found about the Lafroig, I like Old Isle, but I thought it had a lovely texture, really good mouthfeel, creamy. So that's the first thing I noticed when I tasted the Lafroig is that lovely texture, mouthfeel.
Wow, I find how delicate it is. It's amazing. Even for these glasses. Sean, you like it? You got the same glass that I do.
Yeah, these are incredible glasses. They take the burn off. I've found for everything, and it's less burning nostrils, more smell even on.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I find.
I find it the opposite. There's things, well, not the opposite, but I find that certain things I would never put on a glass like this, like Glenfarclas cast strength, Aberlour cast strength, and things like that. Some of them are like just too much. The intensity is too big. But great for like when you have a very little sample and you got 15 mils sharing between like 3 people, then this yields a lot because of the surface.
Yeah, I find the intensity is up, but I find the fragrance comes through more than the burn, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So if you're careful, if you don't
true, yes.
smash your snoot straight in.
I'm one of those, I got trained with winemaking that you got straight up and never burns wine. Yeah. Wow, they're nice.
Oh yeah, easy to mess yourself up with these glasses as well, though. Yeah,